Most HubSpot dashboards are useless. You know what I mean? You look at them, you wouldn't trust that data. They show you leads, clicks, website visits, but they can't tell you what activities actually drive revenue in your company. I'm Bryce Finnerty, and I've built revenue dashboards for hundreds of companies. Today, I'm going to show you the exact dashboard setup that connects every lead to actual closed revenue. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Here's the problem. Here's what I see at literally every company. Marketing built a beautiful dashboard with 47 different reports. Website traffic is up. Form submissions look great. Email open rates are solid. But when the CEO asks which campaigns are actually making us money, crickets. Nobody knows. I can tell you, just last week, I was at a client looking at all their revenue dashboards, and they literally could not tell what customers were being paid, what their customers had paid them. They didn't even have their accounts receivable down. They didn't even know their own revenue. Forget about attributing it to a lead or any CRM or sales activity. So, when I see this, I see all these reports, typically manual because the system's not doing it. And you'll see a lot of upward trends like you see on this graph over here. Looks great, right? It's going up. Everyone loves that, up and to the right. But that doesn't mean your revenue is up. We need to look at the revenue. It turns out it was flat for the last 6 months. The problem? They were measuring activity, not revenue drivers. This is the huge problem. Sales activity and marketing activity does not always equate to revenue. We have to figure out the secret sauce of what makes money in our company. Their dashboards couldn't answer the basic questions like which campaign brought in our biggest customer? What's our cost per actual customer? What's better, Google or Meta ads? Which lead sources have the highest lifetime value? Which funnels or which offers did they come in on? See, that's the difference between a reporting dashboard and a revenue dashboard. Big difference. So I'm gonna demo the solution for you right now. I'm gonna be sharing on this screen over here while also talking to you into this camera over here and show you my exact revenue dashboard framework that's actually connected to activity and connecting that activity to money. So let me go over a bunch of the reports that do this. So we need revenue attribution by source. And I'm gonna show you how leads connect to actual campaigns and actual campaign to customer tracking, okay? So let me show you that. So here we have a series of different funnels. These are different offers that we have, and we can track the leads coming in on each. And these are not created equal because this is just an ebook download, but this is an actual investor. So these are very high priority leads. So are these. Look at that. That was a good day. These are people who want to start investing with you. So if you're into investing and you need investor leads, see me. Okay, so then we also need to know, are the investors qualified and how many? But so now we're tracking the leads, but let me kind of show you. Now we can track it by campaign. So we need to know which campaign in HubSpot and our ad campaigns are bringing in which customers. And so you can see by campaign, we have all the customers right here, and we know exactly what UTM tracking parameter and what campaign they came in and their cost per click and so on. All that is right here because we attributed it all from the campaign right into the lead, right into the contact in HubSpot. So if you can't do that, what I just did with one click, yours isn't set up right. We can also see the attributes by which campaign in which channel, but let me get to the revenue part. Lots of campaign stuff. So you got to have all your campaigns set up to your leads and your contacts. But let me show you how we connect it to money. We can see which pages have the best conversion rates. This one's doing the best, even though this one has the most views, it's converting the highest. Again, that's that start investing. That's our good one. That's our money maker. And now look at this. We can see how many meetings are booked. Meetings are a very big leading indicator. We also can qualify someone on the meeting call. So they're taking action now. That leads to revenue. So booked meetings is a leading indicator of revenue. So is leads. But look, we know how much money is attributed to each stage in the deal pipeline, all the way down to closed one. And we can see how many contacts are in what stage of the life cycle. And I mentioned earlier, There's two life cycles. This is really confusing to most people. And we talked about, this is the report around velocity. How quickly are they moving through these stages? Are they in a rush to buy from you? Are they dragging it out and then disappearing? Velocity is a huge piece. We can see how many new leads come in by stage. We can see how many calls are booked. And then if we're in the education phase where we kind of educate them while they're waiting to buy, and or did they actually invest? There's a filter on here, so this looks really low, but there's actually quite a few investors. You can see them all up here. $55 million in investment. Love it. But there's also a contact life cycle. So a contact comes in, that's a person who's attributed to this new lead. And then we have to sales qualify that lead to see, once we talk to them, are they who we really think they are? Can they buy from us? Do they even qualify? And if they do qualify and they're interested, then we create an opportunity, okay? Not until then. Most people confuse this. Every new lead they call a deal and then attribute some sort of generic amount to it. That's not true. They're just leads. We need to filter through all these leads to find out the actual buyers. That's when we make an opportunity. And when they make it through the whole cycle, then they become a customer. And we can also see which marketing tactic works the best. We can see, obviously, paid social media posts are the highest. The largest bar here. That's better than paid search on Google. So in this case, paid social media posts is by far the highest. We can also see revenue by month of the total deal revenue closed, and this is sort of your closed one by month. It's really nice, big month right here in August. Love it. So if you don't have numbers attributed to your deals, your contacts, your leads, and your activities, you're missing it. And that's very common. Hardly anyone ever goes back to capture the revenue that's in accounting and go back into the CRM and put the deal value in there. So it's a really important step. And I demoed which sources close faster. We could look at the velocity of which ones come in, and we know by certain funnels they have very high buying intent. They said they're ready to invest now. We can also look at the customer's lifetime value by channel. And so a repeat customer, it's called a raving fan. It's a fan in HubSpot. They buy often. So you really want to know who they are and where they come from and how to go find more of them, okay? So that's why you have to have all this in the system by deal stage. And let me show you a quick point that even in the lead scoring built into HubSpot, there's scoring by the contact, or if you're doing account-based marketing, by the company type, and there's even scoring by the deals. Deal scoring is different than the customer scoring. They might be a very high scoring customer, they just don't want to do a deal with you. We mentioned by campaign, ROI by marketing channel, and this is an example here. If I go into marketing campaigns, I'm looking at a campaign here. I can see that campaign. It's a real estate Bitcoin fund. We attributed this much revenue to that campaign. All of it, because we're driving that traffic, is all coming in through this one landing page. If it had different forms, we can see it has inside the campaign, we can see there's this pop-up call to action. There's a form. There's landing pages this thing's on, okay? And we can see what marketing emails are attributed with this campaign. I'm gonna do a video next to talk about the architecture of a campaign. If you aren't getting it, watch that video. But look, under the marketing menu is campaigns. All these things are pieces of a campaign. And if you set them up right, you can bang out campaigns in 5 minutes. In fact, that's the title of the next video, how to set up a campaign in 5 minutes. It's because we have a prototype of a campaign and all these elements and the list and everything already set up. So we can very rapidly deploy new campaigns to capture new market share. We talked about the sales activity impact in my prior video, but what that means is we're always tracking sales activity, like how many calls are we making? How many appointments are we booking? How many emails are we sending? You do want to track that, but you have to correlate that to the right accounts to make sure you're spending the right activities with the high value prospects. Love tracking activity. Action and activity leads to results. And then ultimately, if these pipelines are set up right, we can now forecast the revenue. Here's the biggest problem. I never trusted the CRM, my old sales team, because they never came back and put in the revenue that we collected. And if we have a long-term repeat client, you really need to close the loop and be like, well, this is $1 million account now. You have to be going back into your CRM to be like, this is $1 million account and customer. And so you want to be attributing that revenue constantly back to the CRM. This is a step that a lot of people miss. But if you get that right, now as the leader, you can trust the pipeline reports and know that those are only real deals with real revenue in the pipeline. Okay. So here's the key difference. Notice what's not on this dashboard. Vanity metrics like page views, social media followers, or email open rates. They're not on here anywhere. Now we can see it by ad in the ad group, but that's not my dashboard. This is where we actually go set up the ad campaigns. That's not on my actual reports and dashboards. Every single report should be designed to answer one question. What's driving actual revenue? And that report should then have what dimension that you're looking at that's attributing to revenue so that you can hone in on one dimension that's creating value. Then your marketing team can prove the ROI down to the specific campaign and know which campaigns worked and which ones didn't and how to get better or how to borrow from the best practices from what works. Also, your sales team needs to know what leads to prioritize, because otherwise they could be working on the wrong leads while there's a really high value lead sitting right here that they didn't notice. Ultimately, your CEO gets real answers about what's working for that big ad budget and that big CRM HubSpot bill. And so you can stop wasting time, you yourself, on activities that don't drive revenue. Because the difference between most dashboards and this one is the difference between looking busy and actually making money. So let me just break down and summarize what the implementation overview looks like. So to build this system yourself, you need 3 things. 1, you need the attribution setup. Those are the custom properties that capture the campaign data. We call them UTM tracking parameters, and I have a whole nother video about how to set up UTM tracking that flows through all the way from the individual person shopping, coming into your company, and buying. And then we can track exactly where that person came from and go find more just like them. And then you need lead scoring that weights based on revenue potential, not just activity. The second thing is you need to connect revenue to reports all the way through the closed revenue. I mentioned you have to get the closed revenue back into the CRM so we know what that customer is worth in terms of revenue, and then we can go find more just like them. What we call the revenue connection reports. This tracks a lead through to the closed revenue. Then I mentioned deal tracking. A deal is different than a lead. A deal doesn't come into play until that lead shows buying intent and they say, yeah, let's go ahead, let's do the deal. Then we create an opportunity and set up the deal pipeline. Then that deal pipeline is very accurate because we know what stage in the deal we're in and what the likelihood of closing and our drop off through the funnel. Step 3, you can then do the customer value calculations by channel, which is really important. What channel is better? Facebook or Google, LinkedIn, wherever you're doing your advertising or trade shows versus cold calling. And then you need step 3, the dashboard architecture that's revenue focused KPIs, not activity focused, revenue focused, just like I demoed in the beginning. And you need time-based filters that show trends and patterns. Are they dropping off over time? Are they increasing over time? So you can see what's actually working. And is the revenue increasing? That example I gave you in the beginning, they thought their leads were increasing, but their revenue was flat, okay? You also want to be able to drill down into your reports to investigate outliers, as you're seeing me do like this. If I want to see all these leads, I can drill right into them, see what's going on. They went to a live event. I can see their whole life cycle. They came in, what campaign, what ad group they came in, what pages they looked at. They looked at another ad. They filled out a form. I know where that form is. I know everything about this whole history. What stage they're in. I can qualify them, sales qualify them, create an opportunity. All these things are triggers that I can set to collect data about it. But most companies skip this one step to tie it to revenue, and then they wonder why their dashboards are useless. It's really sad. So here's your call to action. I put together the exact dashboard templates, custom property setup, and report configurations that I use. Everything you need to build a revenue dashboard that actually works. Grab it below, click the link, or put a comment that you want that and we will get it to you. Or If you want this implemented in your HubSpot instead of trying to figure it out, all the technical setup yourself that I just demoed, if that didn't make a whole lot of sense to you, but you know you need that, that's what we do at Dealflow Dynamics. We will set it up for you. We will build the revenue systems that the coaches only talk about. We build them. So if you want to talk about it yourself and get started, book a revenue clarity call below. On that call, we will audit your current dashboard and show exactly how to connect your data to actual revenue. Okay, thank you so much. See me on the next video.